You are Locked On Clippers Postcast. Part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Good evening and welcome to the Locked On Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA, dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers Postcast brought to you by Robinhood Gold. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Well, that was a win for the Clippers, even though it's not over yet. A win is a win is a win. You know, you can only beat the team that's on the schedule. You can only play the team that's on the other side of the floor. But that one was probably as uninteresting and dull as the loss on Monday to the Celtics, which I only saw parts of, the highlights of, because I was covering the Chargers game. They got shellacked in that one. And tonight they just pounded the Wizards. It's 121-92 at this point. But I think, you know, these games can be helpful. I look at this and say, yeah, I don't know. The Wizards are bad. What are you going to do? James Harden came out fired up. I wish he would come out fired up like that against the Celtics, or like hopefully he'll do that on Friday against the Timberwolves in Minnesota. But yeah, tonight he was absolutely locked in, or to use Ryan Siemens' term, he could throw a key into a lock. He had 23 in the first, going 9 of 11 and 5 of 7 from beyond the arc. The Clippers as a team at the end of the first quarter, and they were leading by just 9, 37-28, had just 2 turnovers. So that was a good part of this game for the Clippers. But it's kind of like you're playing a G League team. The thing that was surprising, I think, when you look at the numbers, the Wizards shot 41%. At the end of the half, they were shooting just 7% from beyond the arc. At the end of the game, they were 8 of 33 for 24%, which is not good, but it's way better than 7%. So they kind of got it going a little bit, and I'm just surprised that number is not lower. I felt like that would be in the mid to low 30s because they had plenty. The Clippers were just playing lazy and sloppy. The pace, the note I took in the first half was the pace of the game was very slow. The intensity was low. It just kind of felt like a pickup game, like a practice game. Like, we know who's going to win, right? It's doesn't feel like there's really anything on the line here. Now, if the Wizards had come out and punched them in the mouth in the first quarter or something, and let's say even they were close to tied or something, I think it might be different. The Wizards went on a little run. This was also a lot of interesting things in the first half. The second half, not so interesting. A little bit more predictable. But in the first half, early in the second quarter, like a couple of minutes in, the Wiz went on a little run. A run that was a 4-2 run. So the Clippers were now up, instead of being 37-28 in front, they were up 39-32. Oh, timeout. So I look at that and I go, well, take nothing for granted. Ty Lue's doing his job, right? He felt something wasn't right, didn't like it, called timeout. But the pace and intensity continued to be slow. Then about the 7-minute mark of the second, he put all the starters back in the game, and that's when things started to pull away. That's where the gap was created. The second quarter went to the Clippers 24-18. Third quarter, a little bit more level, 27-25 Clippers, and the fourth quarter 33-27 as it's now final 121-96. Again, Clippers shooting 50% from the floor, 45 of 89, 36% from beyond the arc, and only 76% from the line. That could be a little better. Not bad in a game like this. As for the Wizards, 41% from the floor, 24% from beyond the arc, and 81% from the line. But the Clippers just, move the ball around, play defense. I didn't ever feel like they needed to do too much more than they did because James Harden had such a big night. 7 of 11 from beyond the arc, which is 63%. 10 of 11 from the free throw line. Another thing that popped up that I thought was super interesting, and we've talked about it a fair amount, is James Harden getting to the line and how he's so adept at it. He had at least one foul beyond the arc tonight where he made all 3 free throws right before the halftime buzzer. But in Boston on Monday, did not get to the line one time. So again, I didn't watch all of that game. I saw parts of it, but that's bizarre, right? How is that possible? James Harden is pretty consistent in his style of play. It's not like he comes in with a different approach or a different attack. He's always trying to draw the foul. He's been doing it for so long, his entire career practically. This is what he does. How did it not work at all in Boston on Monday? The only thing that I can imagine is just the way it didn't work in Houston. The refs weren't going for it. So is there some sort of league, feeling, or are people not communicating? How is it that one group of refs do not give him any fouls, and then most of the rest of the group give him a ton of fouls? I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, there is, again, the Celtics are a very good team. They're the defending champions. There is the possibility that they are aware that James Harden does this and just didn't commit the fouls. I did not investigate that closely. I guess we could look at the fouls if you wanted from that game, but I thought that was really bizarre. In a game where the Celtics cruised 126-94, James Harden did not shoot a free throw. Clippers, let's see, the personal fouls for the Celtics, 12 on the night. 3-4 for Derek White was the most. So they must have just done a good job of keeping James Harden in check. He didn't have a completely terrible game, but James Harden of late, except for tonight being the exception, makes his bones at the free throw line. 8 of 17, 3 of 8 from beyond the arc for 19 points. That's a pretty good night. If he'd have gotten close to some of the fouls that he normally gets, 7, 8, 10, then, you put another 7, 8 on that, 27, 26 points. Pretty good game when you get punched in the mouth, 126-94. So I find that interesting. Tonight was just kind of practice, going through the motions. Didn't feel like they needed to do all that much. And that's exactly what they did. Not much, but there were some good nights out there. Of course, James Harden with 43, only played 32 minutes, didn't even get in there in the fourth quarter, as there was some speculation that they felt that would be the case because a big game coming up on Friday in Minnesota. 21 minutes, 2 of 8 for Amir Coffey, just 6 points. Zubac's 9 of 11. Continuing to fill it up. He had a double-double in the first half. He finished with 18 points and 16 boards. Derek Jones, single digits, 6 points. Chris Dunn did not score. Batum had a 3. Kai Jones got in late, 8 minutes late in the game with 4 points. Bones Highland played the same 8 minutes, had 10 points in 8 minutes. Again, Bones Highland must just be a guy that knows how to make baskets when it doesn't count, when it doesn't matter. I don't know what happens at practice that they're not seeing Bones Highland be ready, or they don't feel he's going to contribute in high leverage situations, but they just don't. He only gets in there when the game is out of hand. And again tonight, but he had 3 threes in 8 minutes, 10 points. To me, that seems like the guy can fill it up. It would make a little bit of sense that you put him out there maybe at the end of the second quarter when you're resting the starters, that kind of time right there. Jordan Miller has earned those minutes. We're going to talk about his game coming up after the break. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Clippers postcast as they cruise in DC against the Wiz, who are 2-15. Everybody beats the Wiz, if you remember that. I think that's a Seinfeld reference. 121-96, the final. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcast on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. We appreciate you allowing us to be your source for your team every day. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. You don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, Clippers take care of business in D.C. Coming off a rough night in Boston on Monday. They get back at it tonight. And, I guess to me, that Monday night game was as dull as this one. It didn't ever feel like it was close to being out of hand. So I look at this game and I go, do the Clippers come away from this feeling good about themselves? Or is this just a business trip today? Like, we're just taking care of business. Are they in good spirits? Probably, yeah. But are their emotions high after winning this game? No. Again, the Wizards have just 2 wins on the season, 1-8 at home. And they're clearly going through a rebuilding process and just not making enough shots. Their defense, I thought, was pretty poor. The only reason that this game was moderately interesting at times for them was because of Valanciunas, who didn't even start, by the way, played 18 minutes, 7 of 11, all early in the game. Then he went a little bit cold and they pulled him. That's it. You're done. Malcolm Brogdon had 17, Alexander Sarr 13, and everybody else in single digits. Jordan Poole had 8, and Kyle Kuzma played 8 minutes, no points, and which is surprising. Marvin Bagley, 8 minutes, 7 points. These all came at the end of the game. Patrick Baldwin, 3 points. Kispert played early, 23 minutes, 4 of 8, 1-3. He had 9, and Jared Butler, 6. And Keyshawn George, one of their youngsters, 1 of 6. Just a rough night for him, 2 points. So those kind of things are what really put them behind the 8 ball. At the end of the first half, Clippers shooting 53% from the floor, 33% from beyond the arc. And again, the Wiz weren't that bad, 43% from the floor, but only 7% from beyond the arc. And in this day and age, in this league, you got to make some threes, and they just didn't do it tonight. Here is the bucket list, filled with James Harden's threes. But first, Zoo had a really nice spin move in the lane for a layup with the left hand, looking more nimble than I think we're used to seeing Zubac's look. Look, he's improving in that department all the time. He's also becoming more tough in the paint. Didn't need any of that tonight, although he had to deal with Valanciunas a little bit. But this spin move was just one of those, whoa, look at that. Kind of got you to open up your eyes and perk up just a little bit, because it's not something you're used to seeing from Zubac. It happened at the 4:30 mark of the second. 49-42 was the score after that. For number 4, James Harden with a nice pass. So not only was he filling it up, shooting threes, going 7 of 11, but he also had 7 assists, one of them to Derek Jones Jr., an alley-oop at the 2-minute mark of the second to make it 54-42. And the thing that was really nice about it was Harden was on the move. A lot of times he makes those really sweet, sharp passes just standing there at the point. He was rolling off the wing, coming into the lane, and found Derek Jones Jr. flying through the air. Perfect pass. It was nice to see. And I think those guys are getting that move perfected, which is also a good feeling. For number 3, James Harden with a wing 3 at the 4:11 mark of the third. Nobody in his face, wide open shot, had a couple seconds to think about it and buried it. 78-59. Then another less than a minute later at the 3:45 mark of the third, made it 81-59. Nicholas Batum, Nico, had a 3 at the 2-minute mark of the third. It was the first non-Harden 3 of the night, so it made the list. 86-62 at that point. And for number 1, Jordan Miller hit a 3 at the 10:51 mark of the fourth to make it 95-69. And Jordan Miller, a very solid performance. 7 of 10, 1 of 3 from beyond the arc. He did have 3 turnovers, but just continues to grow, in my opinion, have more confidence on the floor. He doesn't seem to stand out as a guy that you're going, yeah, I hope he doesn't turn it over, or to, pass the ball, don't shoot when he gets it. I feel like when I see Jordan Miller with the ball, he fits right in. I mean, he is a heck of a good player. I know he's young. It's his second year. 20 minutes tonight with 15 points, finished with a +3, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, a little bit of everything, but plays with a lot of energy, and is a good shooter, very, very active in the lane, both offensively and defensively. I just think he has all of the tools, and clearly the coaching staff, including Ty Lue, agree, because he's getting more time. And it's not surprising. It's nice to see. And hopefully when Norm Powell comes back and Kawhi Leonard comes back, we'll still see him out there, because I feel like he can contribute. It might be fewer minutes, probably will be. But, some of these other guys, obviously Amir Coffey's probably going to lose a few minutes, as will Chris Dunn when those guys come back. Regarding Norm Powell, I looked it up. They said he's been upgraded to questionable. In this game, I don't think there was any chance in hell that he was going to get on the floor. But that's good news, I guess. They are playing it safe at this point in time. They are 6-1 against sub 500 teams. You can look at that 2 different ways. The guys on the call, Jim Jackson and Brian Seaman, looked at it this way. You're taking care of business of teams you should beat. And I know last year there were plenty of times when we come in here after the game, do the postcast, and be so frustrated because the Clippers would lose to teams they should beat. So that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is from the Chargers angle, if you will. Chargers on a nice little run prior to Monday night, losing to who they play on Monday. Totally forgot. They beat Cincy and then Baltimore. So coming into that game against Baltimore, they were like, look, the Chargers haven't really played anybody. They beat Cincinnati, but it was a shootout, and they were lucky to get that win falling apart in the second half. So all of those wins prior to Cincy were against inferior teams. So call me when you beat somebody good. That's the other way to look at this run the Clippers are on. They're 12-8 right now. And, they've had some wins. True. I mean, they have beaten the inferior opponents, 6-1 again against those. But lately, they haven't beaten anybody good. Maybe you could say they beat the Warriors. That was a nice win. Magic are okay. Jazz aren't good. Kings are just okay. Sixers aren't good. They got smacked in the mouth in back-to-back games against the Rockets. Lost a tight one to the Thunder. That one could have been, that was probably their best game of the year in a loss. And then early in the season, game 3, they beat the Warriors in San Francisco. So that was a nice win there. But you think and say, I feel pretty good about this start. And as Brian Seaman pointed out, this is a real chunk of games, 20 games, right? It's enough to say, I feel like I have a pretty good idea of who the Clippers are at this point. But all of that being said, we still have one major question mark hanging over the head, and that is Kawhi Leonard. When's he going to come back? And when he does come back, how's that going to look? Obviously, he's a good player. He'll fit in, but it's going to take a few games. So there's going to be some growing pains there, without a doubt. And, this stretch for Norm Powell being out, to me, 5 games is a lot. Hopefully we'll see him on Friday. I don't like guys to be out for more than a week. Five games is a big clip. But what I read from a couple of different places was that they're just playing it safe, because the hammy is one of those things that you don't want to mess with when it's tender and then you tweak it. It's like a bad back when you're an old guy like me. You got to keep it strong. You got to work it. You just can't expect it to be okay. And when you're rehabbing it, you want to make sure it's back to normal before you start doing things. And that goes for Norm Powell's hammy, and it goes for my back sometimes. Although when my back goes, it's just so bizarre. It's never anything major. It's not like I'm trying to lift something heavy. It's like I'm reaching for the remote. Damn it. So Getting old sucks. 121-96, the final tonight as the Clippers take care of business against the Wiz in DC. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Terrence Mann. Had a good night. Not huge, but good. I feel like Terrence Mann is just a very big unsung hero for this team and a guy that I really like. I always feel like he could score more given the opportunity. When he was in the starting lineup, they never seemed to give him a ton of time. Like, you get 18 minutes as you're a starter, which is always a little bit weird. We'll talk about that next. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. We appreciate you allowing us to be your source for your team every day. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers postcast brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, of course, is America's #1 sports book. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you go over to that page. It gives you the latest stats, view live, play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Those live bets in-game can be big-time winners for you. Join FanDuel.com or visit FanDuel.com to join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Tonight's show also brought to you by BILT, B-I-L-T. PSA for anyone who rents. If you haven't heard of BILT, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through BILT. You don't even need to have a check with your landlord. You don't even need to check with your landlord to start earning points that you can use toward flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. If you're a renter, I'd start talking advantage of BILT if I were you. Here are the things. We earn points on groceries, travel, and particularly everything else we buy, but we should also be earning points on rent. One of our biggest monthly expenses is, of course, rent. BILT changes the game by letting renters earn high-value points on rent in and around their neighborhood. So check it out. There's no cost to join BILT, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on everyday spending. BILT points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your BILT points with. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by joining BILT. Here's how you do it. Join BILT.com/LockedOnNBA. JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use the URL so they know we sent you. Join BILT.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points on your rent payments today. 121-96, the final in DC as the Clippers get back on the right side of things after getting smacked around in Boston against the Celtics. Kind of thought that game would be better. I looked pretty stupid after that one when I said the 10-point spread was surprising to me. Yeah, that wasn't even close. And I don't know what that was all about other than the Celtics are just a much better team. And the Clippers are just not quite there yet. They're good. They're not that good. They're not 100%, obviously. They're not healthy with Norm Powell and Kawhi Leonard still out. But the Celtics are at a different level. I was maybe a little disillusioned coming off a nice win against the Warriors that I thought, hey, this team is pretty good. You know, they're not tops in the West. They're not the Thunder yet, but they have potential to be that. Maybe I'm a little, my feelings about the Clippers are a little overinflated. When you look at who they've beat, it's not anybody, as we just talked about, it's not anybody spectacular, but they do have a few nice wins and they take care of business against inferior opponents. And the future is definitely bright with the opportunity to get Kawhi Leonard back on the floor. Can they obviously be in the top 3 or 4? For sure. I think they're every bit as good as the Grizz and the Rockets. Clearly, they've shown that they can hang with the Warriors. Couple of wins against them. The Thunder being the one obstacle in the West to me that doesn't feel like something they can overcome at this point. Now, all of that can change. The Suns pushed the Lakers around yesterday. When they're healthy, they're one of the best in the West as well. They're now 10-7 and right on the Clippers' tail at number 6 in the Western Conference. So there's just a lot of question marks and a lot of things about this team that we don't have answers to yet. But after 20 games, we feel like they're good, pretty good enough for where we are. It's not going to be like you're not going to go around to your Laker friends and start pounding your chest about what the Clippers are doing. It's all just good enough as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, they're respectable. They are taking care of business, and they'll show us a little bit more about what they're made of on Fridays. They take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We were going to talk about the game for Terrence Mann, 25 minutes, 2 of 5, 6 points, which is not great. That's kind of what we expect from Terrence Mann. But the thing about Terrence Mann that I like is that he just plays with a lot of energy and a lot of heart. Late in the game when he was completely out of hand, a couple of dribble drives, through traffic, getting fouled. He just goes out there. It doesn't matter the situation, doesn't matter what the score is. He just plays hard all the time. And he's pretty clean as far as not turning the ball over. Tonight he had no turnovers and 4 steals. So even in a night when he just has 6 points, 4 steals and 4 assists, I mean, that is big time contribution away from the ball that doesn't always go noticed. It's very unnoticed behavior. But to lead, Harden had, what was that? That's turnover. Sorry. Harden had 3 steals though. So another part of his big night with the 43 points, but 4 steals and 4 assists for a guy that played 25 minutes and only scored 6 points is good stuff. And I like to see it. I'm a big fan of Terrence Mann, and I like having him on this team. And Kevin Porter Jr. also played 25 minutes tonight. It was a bit of an off night for him. We didn't kind of see the activity in the lane and the paint that we're used to seeing from him. Just 1 of 9, 0 of 2 from beyond the arc for 4 points, both 1 basket and 2 points at the line. So he had a bit of an off night. And I think as you look up and down, he and Derek Jones Jr., they go hand in hand, right? When Derek Jones Jr. has a good night, so does Kevin Porter Jr. The juniors are unofficially attached at the hip. So a bit of an off night for Derek Jones Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr. tonight. And Chris Dunn was scoreless. But other than that, everyone else contributed, played their part. Didn't need to do all that much because James Harden went off for 43, put the game out of reach early as he scored 23 points in the first quarter. And again, shot 63% from beyond the arc, going 7 of 11. Off tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Monday, that's next week. Friday is what I meant to say. In Minnesota against the T-Wolves, who are a sub 500 team. Maybe they're just not what they were last year, which is kind of surprising. When you have Anthony Edwards on your team, it seems like everything's good. But losing Cat evidently is a big deal for this team. So we'll see what they're all about on Friday. Timberwolves coming in with a 8-9 overall record and a 5-3 home record. They'll tip this on ESPN at 4:30. So I will catch you immediately following that game. Again, Clippers win tonight, 126-94, I believe was the final. A comfortable cruise of a victory. No, that was the loss at Boston. That's the one that's stuck in my head. The 126-94 was the loss to Boston. Tonight, 121-96, win number 12 for the Clippers. Again, happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. Craig, Daniel, thanks for jumping in with the comments. Enjoy your day tomorrow. Plenty of basketball to watch. Clippers are off, back to work again on Friday. So have a good day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will talk again on Friday. Take care. Have a good night.